Today I want to share with you about predestination and self-will power. Very incredibly important topic, really. Reformed theology says God is a God of predestination, sovereignty. This is Calvinism. Deuteronomy 31 verse 16 to 17 says God prophesies to Moses regarding the nation of Israel. God told Moses that he's going to die. But the nation of Israel is going to go after other gods, and they will prostitute themselves going after other gods. And they will forsake God's covenant, and God is going to be really angry with them and judge them, etc., etc. Now, would you say that God predestined them to prostitute themselves after other gods? I don't think so. It is impossible for God to decide predetermined that Israel is going to prostitute themselves after other idolatry, other idols in the land. Because God, when God said it to Moses, he was full of frustration. And God's already predicted, it's like God predicted them it's going to happen. God knows beforehand, he foreknew. But he didn't predestine it. And I believe God never predestined anybody to sin or to fall away or do evil deeds. The falling away, prostituting after idolatry, idols themselves, etc., is an act of self-will. It's an act of self-choice. Your self-will choose the path, and God permitted it because God honors your self-will. That is part of sovereignty and predestination. How does that so? I believe that God predestined the final outcome, the grand scheme of things. He predestined. He predestined the good things, the positive things. You see, those whom he calls, he shall glorify. He predestined that. Those he foreknew, he predestined, he foreknew, he glorified, he sanctified, he glorified, and all the way to the end time. Beautiful. It's all in the Pauline epistles. You can read about that. That he predestines. He predestines that Christ is going to die on the cross for the world. That is predestination. Before the foundation of the world, the Son of God is already preset going to die in the, for the world. Now the question goes back: was Adam and Eve's rebellion, breaking God's covenant, is that predestined by God? The answer is clearly no. God did not predestine that. God allowed that in the name of free will by Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve chose on their own accord to break away from God. And God was grieved, and God already had a redemption plan. He kicked it into action. So before God created Adam and Eve, before the foundation of the world, did God know that? Of course he did. God knew Eve and Adam are going to choose to rebel against him at some point of time. And even before he created them, he knew beforehand, he foreknew, but he did not predestine it. See that? And because he foreknew, he honored the free choice, free willpower of Adam and Eve. He had to come up with a plan to save the whole humanity. Even before the foundation of the world, he knew that it's coming, and he planned for it. That one he predestined. He predestined a solution for the terrible self-will choice of Adam and Eve. That's an overall doctrinal understanding in the grand scheme of things in terms of predestination and self-will power. I think this is really mightily clear to me now. So I would say God predestined the grand scheme of things, he never do the little in between. That one is really left our free choice. In the end, he's going to win it. The world's going to end exactly as he predestined. However, any fall between Adam and Eve, the Genesis chapter 1 to the last letter of Revelations, when he returns, etc., is completely dependent on our free will, our free choice. But the Lord watches over us and leads us and guides us. He knows he's going to get his way. He will. He decided. He predetermined that. However, he leaves everything in between to our free will and choice. And he permitted that. But he watches it very, very closely to make sure it goes the way he has decided in the grand scheme of things in the end. So this is a really, really important doctrinal explanation, especially with regards to when I read Deuteronomy 31, when God prophesied Israel is going to break away from him. He obviously did not predestined that. He allowed that. He gave them free will. So nobody can say that, God, you control my decisions. I don't have free will. Of course you have free will. You choose everything. You're going to be responsible for your actions. I believe so. That's the way they're going to go. And now this is different from Arminianism. Because Calvinism, that when a person responds to Christ, it's not your free will to choose to respond to Christ. Because a dead man, you were dead in your spirit before Christ, the Bible says. So the argument is, how can a dead person spiritually respond to the call of God to come to him? You can't. That's what the predestination says. Jesus said, those who only, unless my Father calls you will never come to me. Only my Father calls them, they will come to me. Who did the first action? The Father. So when we come to Christ, it's God the Father calls us first, primarily, initially, in the first instance, to him. And then Christ executed and bring us into his fold, his salvation. That's the way how it works for predestination, for salvation. That is still Calvinism. It does not contradict what I just shared about. God honors our free will and free choice. In fact, the call of God is irresistible. When God calls, nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop you or anybody. It is determined. It shall be done. All right. The Lord bless you. Talk to you again.